The courtroom fell silent as Judge Edward Chen's gavel slammed down with a crack that echoed like a gunshot, his piercing gaze fixed on Senator John Neely Kennedy. "Mr. Kennedy," Chen sneered, his voice dripping with condescension, "your presence here is a waste of this court's time. Do you think your political theatrics impress me? Sit down, or I'll have you removed." The words hung in the air, a venomous insult that struck Kennedy like a physical blow. The senator, known for his folksy charm and sharp wit, stood frozen, his face flushing red as the gallery gasped. What followed was a dramatic unraveling that no one in that room could have predicted, a clash of egos that would end with the arrogant judge in handcuffs, dragged out in disgrace. John Neely Kennedy, a Louisiana senator with a reputation for standing up to bullies, had come to the federal courthouse in San Francisco to testify in a high-stakes case involving government overreach. A man of humble beginnings, Kennedy had risen from a small-town lawyer to a national figure, driven by a deep-seated belief in justice for the little guy. His gray hair and wire-rimmed glasses belied a tenacity that had carried him through decades of political battles. Today, though, he faced an adversary unlike any other, Judge Edward Chen, a man whose icy demeanor and unchecked power had intimidated even the most seasoned lawyers. Chen, with his impeccable robes and smug expression, ruled his courtroom like a king, his rulings often criticized as biased toward the elite. The tension between the two men had been brewing for months, ever since Kennedy publicly called out Chen's decisions in a Senate hearing, accusing him of favoring corporate interests over the public good. The hearing began routinely enough, with Kennedy presenting his testimony with his trademark blend of humor and grit. But as he pressed Chen on a questionable ruling that had favored a powerful tech conglomerate, the judge's patience snapped. "Senator, your ignorance is astounding," Chen interrupted, leaning forward with a smirk. "You're out of your depth here. This isn't a backwoods debate club." The gallery murmured, some in shock, others in agreement with the judge's cutting remark. Kennedy's jaw tightened, but he kept his composure, responding, "Judge, I may not have your fancy degree, but I know when justice is being twisted. The people deserve better." The exchange escalated quickly, with Chen ordering Kennedy to be silent and threatening contempt charges. The senator, refusing to back down, stood his ground, his voice rising with emotion. "You don't get to silence me, Judge. Not when the truth's at stake." What happened next was chaos. Chen, his face contorted with rage, signaled to the bailiffs to remove Kennedy. But as the officers approached, Kennedy's allies in the courtroom, ordinary citizens who had come to support him, stood up in protest. A young mother, clutching her son's hand, shouted, "Leave him alone. He's fighting for us." An elderly veteran, his medals gleaming, added, "This isn't justice, this is tyranny." The outburst seemed to ignite something in Chen, who leapt from his bench, pointing a trembling finger at the crowd. "Order, I'll clear this room," he bellowed, but in his fury, he overstepped. Witnesses later reported that Chen grabbed a bailiff's arm, attempting to force him to drag Kennedy out, an act that violated every protocol of judicial conduct. The turning point came when a junior clerk, a soft-spoken woman named Emily Torres, stepped forward. Emily had worked under Chen for years, enduring his tirades and watching him bend the law to suit his whims. That day, something snapped in her too. With a shaky voice, she produced a hidden recorder, revealing months of Chen's private rants, admissions of bias, threats to witnesses, and plans to rig the case. "I couldn't stay silent anymore," she later said, tears streaming down her face. The evidence was damning, and the courtroom erupted as federal marshals were called in. Chen's arrogance had finally caught up with him. As he realized the gravity of the situation, his smugness melted into panic. The marshals moved swiftly, cuffing his wrists behind his back as he shouted protests. The sight of the once mighty judge being dragged out, his robe trailing on the floor, was a surreal end to his reign. For Kennedy, the ordeal was both a victory and a burden. As he watched Chen's exit, he felt a mix of relief and sorrow, not just for the judge's fall, but for the system that had allowed such corruption to fester. In the days that followed, the case gained national attention, with Emily's bravery earning her praise and a new job offer from a legal aid organization. Kennedy, true to form, used the platform to push for judicial reforms, speaking at rallies with a renewed fire. "This ain't just about one judge," he told a crowd in Baton Rouge. "It's about making sure the law works for all of us, not just the powerful." The resolution came months later, when a new judge overturned Chen's ruling, vindicating Kennedy's stance. The tech conglomerate faced scrutiny, and small businesses affected by the original decision received compensation. Emily, now a symbol of courage, worked tirelessly to train others to stand against injustice. And Kennedy, though scarred by the experience, found a deeper purpose, mentoring young leaders with the same tenacity that had carried him through. The story of that courtroom clash became a rallying cry, a reminder that even in the face of arrogance and power, truth and resilience could prevail. By the end, the message was clear: no one is above accountability, and every voice, no matter how humble, can spark change.